Welcome to another episode of the Swarmcast, brought to you by Swarm Pest Control Marketing. If you're looking to take your pest control business to new heights, you're in the right place. In each episode, we've got a hive full of expert insights, strategies, and success stories tailored exclusively for pest control entrepreneurs.
All right, welcome to episode 2 of our Swarmcast. We have a full house today, as always. We have Sean Campbell in the house. He is our social media expert.
Mm-hmm. How you doing, Aaron? How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
You look handsome as always today. Looking good. You kind of set the tone for the rest of us and what we should aspire to look like every day.
Yeah, I pay Sean to say good things about me on the podcast. And we also have Wyatt Chambers here today, our chief. What is it? Our chief.
Our chief.
Our chief. Yes, there we go.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Partner in crime. There we go.
Yeah, chief partner in crime.
Partner in crime.
Yeah.
And then we have Lily, our engineer.
Hello.
Who just got her first business cards today.
Yeah,
That should get an applause.
Yeah. Applause. Applause. Absolutely. There you go. Yeah.
and I am the Google Business Profile Genius.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. The
Self-proclaimed.
GBPG.
And today, so we are going to be asking a few questions and we're going to start with Wyatt. And we're going to talk about the landscape for pest control. And this question, I'm going to start with you, but anyone else can chime in afterwards. But
Excellent.
we just wanted to talk about some of the industry challenges when it comes to marketing in the pest control landscape. What are some of the challenges that are specific to this niche, and how can we help overcome these?
Absolutely. I mean, pest control is one of those niches where it's a very heavily trusted thing. Just think about it. Mm-hmm. You're inviting somebody to your house. They're going to probably come in your house and be around your property, around your pets, around your family on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So it's a high trust marketing play. Mm-hmm. And a lot of history with how pest control is marketed. I happen to be around some really interesting characters that told me how they marketed theirs. Mm-hmm. Like before digital, it was all signage or newspapers or print.
Yep.
And turns out one of the biggest players in the United States, they ended up using cars. They put their logos on the side of old cars to capture attention. Pretty awesome way. But as far as the challenges, they've changed over time. But just think about it. It does start with trust, especially in that marketplace. I think most PCOs, pest control owners and operators, they are dealing with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and a real quick side story to that. I think I told you this, why, but Aaron and Lily, I think I told you guys this story. One of my first marketing gigs was actually as an outside sales rep for a local pest control company. So in the first 2 weeks, I outsold the previous 12 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So guess who was out there spraying for bugs and underneath buildings for checking for termites after 2 weeks? This guy was, because there was nobody else left to do it.
So you're saying, you can do the crickets. Literally. So you're saying that you actually have pest control experience, actually doing the work.
Yeah. I was going door to door, restaurants, apartment buildings. I mean, it was all business to business back then. I networked. I'm a pretty good networker and still. And I brought in as much business in the first 2 weeks than this dude had the previous 12 months.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he must have liked you quite a bit.
But needless to say, I didn't really stick around because I wasn't, I was literally out there drilling termite holes and squirting that stuff down in the underneath. And there's another story behind that I don't want to admit to on a podcast, but there's a few stories, but yeah.
Well, pest control isn't easy, right? It's not an easy job. Hats off to the workers in that field.
Absolutely.
Business owner operators. We have a success story with Swarm, with Pest Friends. We got 2 locations. I'm actually a co-owner in that business. One of the challenges, going back to the original question, was we started that thing when COVID hit. So all the traditional ways that you could market a pest control company, we had frisbees, we had fly swatters, all the traditional stuff that you could use, going to dog parks, being in the community. Boom, doors closed. You know, doing the knock on door approach when people weren't answering the doors.
Yeah.
You know, so we were in for a wake up call, especially in the marketing side. So how do you go from 0 clients, no brand awareness?
Yep.
It's not an easy thing. So that story on this podcast, I'd love to share that experience because, you know, we had to get very creative on what we did. And, you know, I know the Swarmcast is for everybody that's in pest control, that's owning and operating a business, and how we can help them. And I've lived that. I lived that in the last couple of years here, and we are where we are because of some of the things that we had to adapt, right? There is no such thing as a silver bullet, and you have to keep maintaining and trying different things. But one thing that we know well is digital. We've been doing that for a really long time here, and so there are a bunch of different things that we can talk about that. Okay.
Awesome. All right, cool. Are there any misconceptions about marketing and pest control that you are aware of, or anything that's going to be different specific to that niche of pest control versus marketing any other field?
Yeah, I think what happened when we started working in the pest control marketing arena, we were applying things that were, I would say, as a generalist, and I wasn't getting the results I wanted. My partners also, because it takes time to build. I mean, you had one thing. One, you're building a brand. You're starting from ground zero. And the first thing we talked about was high trust. Well, where can you go to look at high trust or get high trust?
Yeah.
Well, you need reviews. So when you're first starting a pest control business, if you're in that stage 1, you hit that circle of family and friends to become customers, and you work through that. And what are you doing? You're going to be asking them for reviews to say, you're going to get the service. I need a review. So one thing that we'll talk heavily about is, doesn't matter what kind of pest control business you have, the reputation is going to play. And the first gold tip that we have in that arena is get as many as you can, as quick as you can, with how many customers you're onboarding. And tie that in with, that's going to ring the cash register, right? We want reoccurring revenue. We want project work too. In that phase 1, you want project revenue, so you go after, maybe the bee jobs and in the termite jobs that are out there, things that are higher paying project work. There's where we can direct our marketing efforts with loss leader, right? Maybe the industry is saying, hey, we're going to give $100 off. Maybe you give 200. You know, you have to do those kind of things when you're in a stage 1 operator, versus when you have 1,000 customers and now you're stage 2, stage 3. You've passed $1 million in revenue. That's a whole different thing. So things change. I think when we're writing this marketing book we're working on for pest control, we're going to talk about the stages of business as well, because those are going to play into this.
Yeah. There's one thing you said there, Wyatt, is, when you have, say we're running Facebook ads for a pest control company with those loss leaders, and it's something that Lily and I produced a video about it just today. You need to have the systems in place. You need to have the salespeople in place. You need people that are answering the phone and knows what's going on first before you run those ads. And that's where we come in. It's like we're not just another agency for a pest control company. We're going to educate you on, okay, if you want to run these, are your people answering the phone the right way? Do they know why the phone is ringing? When you say there's Facebook ads running, do you have the right people going out to the homes that are salespeople that not going to just do the job, but are going to upsell the job as well, right?
Exactly.
We want to be a partner to every pest control company from coast to coast. Not just we're taking your money, run some ads, this is what takes us the next 10 levels up apart from everybody else.
Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point, because it's more of a, I don't know if holistic is the right word. But
it's perfect.
Yeah, when you're really assisting with everything on their end as well, because we want them to be successful as well.
Yeah, we know our ads are going to work, period. are your people ready for them? Right. So we're not going to just throw your money away. We're going to make sure you're ready for them. This is how, the process is going to work. So we want the most out of every opportunity, every time the phone rings or every time someone, messages you on Facebook or however the mechanism is.
Yeah. Tapping into the mastermind group too is going to be heavy because
huge.
Decades of experience. And keep in mind, one of the guys has worked in M&A, right? Mergers and acquisitions. When to exit your business. If you're going to sell it, how can you get the most you can for it?
Yeah.
So much knowledge and wisdom that's really going to play in nicely with our podcast, with the book that we're putting out there,
The
as
webinar.
well, the webinars that we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
All that access is going to come into play when you don't have to learn with years. Sometimes experience is a hard teacher. You can learn a lot faster, and do well with your business. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We kind of talked a little bit about it, but I wanted to ask you about how we can, our approach as far as tailoring it to each business. Because I would imagine with pest control companies, there's a lot of different niches in that specific niche as well. So how can we tailor our approach to helping each business?
Now, 3 of our case studies, one's an international technology company for pest control. We'll talk about that. The other one was a wildlife pest control scenario. And the other one was just a general pest control company, a modern pest control company. But it goes into deeper segments as well, right? You have more residential focused versus commercial. Might be a mix. So there's a lot of things that can come into play with how do you market, maybe use one social platform. Like what would be a good one for business to business?
LinkedIn. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
100%.
do you know how to generate a list? Do you know how to generate a target market? Do you know how to do a target messaging? There's a lot to that, and a strategy to going after that. And like Sean, you were saying, does everybody on your team know what you're doing? Because somebody's going to answer that call.
Yeah. And to answer your question, how do we kind of make sure everything's tailored? I mean, Lily, how many hours did we spend today just on our own education?
A lot,
right? So I've been, running ads on social for nearly a decade now. But every day, today's a prime example, we're studying how other people are running their ads. And there's more than one time where even though I've been doing this for over 10 years, my eyebrows was like, what? I never thought of that. That's genius. I almost cursed. You almost had to beat me. That's genius. And I'm like, but that's part of staying ahead of the game, right? Just like in pest control. I mean, 20 years ago, I'm sure there's stuff you could spray around the house that's not allowed anymore. You know what I mean? Sure. So you got to stay up on your industry. And that's one thing that we're passionate about here. I know, Aaron, you do the same thing. You're very much on top of, the latest in Google Business Profile and, what we can and can't do. But if we're not on top of our game, then the customization of the programs won't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, one of the things that we're doing, we talk about artificial intelligence. Well, how can that help you in the digital marketing arena? A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Coming up with, maybe you came up with some copy and you want variances in your ad. Plug that into the AI.
Yep.
It'll come back with more ideas that you can plug in. And then you don't have to A, B, C test. You can A through Z times 2.
Every podcast we do, Wyatt tends to give away the house. He just did it again.
Well, we learned something, and this actually came into play last week. We'll just share this one. And it sounds something simple, but it was Facebook ad conversion. Remember what type of imagery it told us to use?
Yeah.
It was neat. I mean, we started putting family pictures. This sounds weird, but those ads got way more, kick through.
I've never seen a higher click through rate on any ad sets ever than what we saw last week on just pictures of you and your family.
Yes.
Disneyland, Legoland, wherever. And it was, unbelievable.
What does that do when somebody looks at that and they're looking at an operation that's in their local area and they see real people? It doesn't look like an Adobe stock image.
Right.
Or, something that you would, wouldn't attribute to your business. There's a reality to it.
Yeah. Authenticity.
authenticity and getting involved in the community too, right?
Yeah.
I think the Disneyland one was a good one as far as it was like a walking, had nothing to do with pest control.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of interesting how that
Him and
worked
his family.
out. Yeah, him and his family. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned a little bit about one company that you started before the pandemic, which was a really good, I guess you can call it a case study, but do you have any others that you think would be good to maybe just kind of show the diversity of what we've done so far?
Yeah, I think Shawnee could talk about animal experts. I think that one, we're going to mention that one by name
Yeah.
because here's a player that's been in the space for a long time. I mean, they got stuff on National Geographic TV, right? I mean,
Yeah.
pretty amazing stuff. They're right here in our local area,
Yeah.
and they came in and they needed some help.
Yeah, they are amazing guys. Let me preface that. They came in, they have some classes that they needed to fill up. And we were sitting with them for like an hour and a half. And then right at the very, have I told you this, Lily?
No.
Right at the very end, they're like, oh, yeah, we got a couple of videos on YouTube. I'm like, well, let's see them. And I didn't think
Oh, yeah.
they have their own little segment on Nat Geo. Not just a couple of videos, but like 20 or 30 of them. And I'm like, well, why didn't we lead in with this? And we could have been done with this meeting, an hour ago. But these guys are full of personality. Check them out on Facebook. It's Animal Experts, correct? And it is amazing, the organic. And now we're not promising organic engagement. Let me state that up front. But it just the audience that they've built. And right now, it's like, they came in about a month and a half ago, and they're like, Sean, can you make our phones stop ringing for a while? I'm like, no, no, that's not my job. But we could pause for a little bit until you catch up.
Yeah.
But part of it is their personalities and their charisma, their celebrity to an extent, But at the same time, it wasn't before we were working with them when we found the right mechanism to reach their audience. Until they had this quote unquote problem of their phones ringing a little bit too much. So it's a tremendous partnership.
Yeah.
And so I would just say along the lines of marketing, we hit their target audience.
Yeah, yeah,
And what controls a lot of our pest control marketing is actually weather, believe it or not, weather patterns. I think one of the successful campaigns there was around rattlesnakes, right?
right.
And there's a certain time of the year they come out and they're really active.
Yep.
Just like there's a time when bees are active. There's a time when, right now, at least in Arizona, a lot of the ants in termite activity. When it gets hot and it gets wet, boom, that's when they
Southern
come out.
California as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
Southern Cal,
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah, I love the fact. Oh, go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
that's what I was going to share as far as that's concerned. Now, it doesn't matter, there's diversity in pest control operators and a technology company that we're working with as well. But, you're going to have different techniques, but using the same technology, right? So one of the things that we use is target audience. We haven't talked about it yet, but SEO, right? That's search engine optimization. A lot of things that get missed by somebody that's in that phase one, maybe they don't have an expert in the field, is they don't target geography, right? You could live in a town and still have different sections of town that you might target. For example, in Tucson, we have Green Valley, we have Vale, we have Catalina Foothills, we have Oro Valley. That's very important when somebody's looking for a professional in those areas. They may not call somebody from across town. They want somebody that's going to be local, And so this local SEO that you're heavily involved with, Aaron, for a long time becomes so important. Are they tagged out? Do they have information, even, posts in that area, which could even include pictures? Sometimes I know I can see the sign for Vale, now entering Vale or now entering Oro Valley. Those are the kind of things in our posts that give the potential client, hey, they are here local. That's a low hanging fruit is using that SEO, that local SEO, either through Google Business Profile or on the website, and that's all going to come into effect of, hey, do you really want? at your stage of business, do you need a full-time SEO person? And what's the cost of a good SEO person? You're 50K plus. If you're doing $1 million in revenue, it still doesn't make sense to hire an SEO in-house professional. You know, and we're going to do a video about why hire an outsourced firm versus in-house talent. You know, because it takes a lot of talent. Like just in this room, you know, you got social, you have Google Business Profile, and you have the SEO side. We haven't gotten to talk about web development. Or some of those things, automation.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about that on our next episode a little bit.
Yeah,
that's actually
absolutely.
That's actually a good
Absolutely.
something to look forward to.
What about tech stack too? Tech stack for pest control companies, where you know you show up with a big chief notebook paper to write out your invoice. You know, is that going to leave a good thought in somebody's mind? It might work initially, but what is the public expecting? They want more electronic forms of not only hey, what did I pay for, but also ways of communicating. And there's a lot of cool tools because everybody has these phones in their pocket, right? That's how I like to communicate. I even straying away from email. And I'm not saying that email marketing doesn't have its place, and it should, but people have their phones on them, and it's rare that they block a text. They'll see that text. We expect the text, right? Like, hey, the technician's on his way. The technician did a good job. Would you like to leave a review? These are the kind of things that we're talking about that all play into marketing in a first impression.
And I just thought of one more question before we wrap up. We've been talking a lot about, obviously, with SEO. If we come across a company, and let's just say maybe they could use some assistance with maybe rebranding, is that something that we can also help with? And do you think that would be something, I would say, something that would be important as we're working with our different...
Yes. Branding is so huge. I think we've helped out a lot of companies over the years with their brand. Sometimes it'll be confusing. What do you do?
Right.
Pest control should have pretty easy idea of what you do by looking at your logo, where you're not guessing when you see it out there. And sometimes we get lost in ego and what we think is going to be cool, but it doesn't translate well into business. So we can help people with their branding. So many resources out there. I'll throw one out there. Let's say you're stage one. You kind of have an idea of what you like. Go to 99 Designs. $300. You're going to walk away with about 50 or 60 designs that may influence you on where you go with it. And these are people that are competing for your business. If you went to a logo designer and said, hey, I want 60 different designs, you'd be spending thousands of dollars, and it would all kind of look the same. Usually artists, to be able to change their style, it's very difficult. There's a difference between a designer and a commercial artist. Sometimes there's people get stuck in their what they like to do, and a graphic artist should be able to told, here's the direction I want to go.
And there's some quote unquote graphic artists out there that just have no idea about branding.
No.
So they it's pretty, but it doesn't make sense. I have a good friend of mine who's a realtor, and she received a logo that was all in black.
Oh wow!
Black. So she was not too impressed by the logo.
Yeah, right.
It's if you find somebody that's good, that's great. But there's certainly going to be, if you just go to one person to come up with a logo for your business, it might be hundreds of dollars, go into the thousands. That's what I'm saying. The 99 Designs can make sense. It's a good tip, and I've used them more than once. If I'm in a pinch or I don't have enough time to work on something. I gave up my graphics talent a while ago. I used to love doing them. I remember one of the first jobs I had was doing 100 concepts for an aerospace company.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the toughest gigs I ever had. And then I think the toughest one what we had with the agency was for a tribe that had to not offend any other tribes in the United States. You know, you couldn't use certain symbols because they meant something to a different tribe. Talk about probably one of the hardest logo projects, and that was, and they loved what we came up with.
Nice.
And it was a passport for the tribes. So, you know, but going back to your original question, pest control, it should be easily to identify. I would say if you're, you know, coming up with a brand or you're getting ready to retool it, it's hard because the business owner is so emotionally tied with that as to their success. They came up with that idea, and you know, it's hard telling somebody that, hey, their pest control logo is not that cool, or it just doesn't carry the impact it needs to. It's a hard process, and I would just say if you're looking to rebrand, you gotta let go of some of that preconceived stuff. Do you want just a retooling of that existing one, or are you okay letting go and letting somebody be creative and come up with something neat?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Well, man, we covered a lot today, and I still have so many questions that just pop into my head. So we'll save some of those for our next episode. We also have a lot to look forward to. We have a lot coming up. We have a webinar. Wyatt mentioned, I think, both the webinar and the book already. But we have a webinar coming up, I believe, next.
Let's shoot for next month, September, end of September.
Okay, end of September.
End of September.
We'll have a webinar.
We'll have a date announced the first week of next week. Yeah.
Okay. All right. and then the book is coming. I don't know if we have a time.
Do we have a date the book's going to be dropped?
I think a 4 to 5 week time frame. So it will probably be right after September that drops.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to be depending a little bit on Amazon. Okay.
All right. So, yeah, we'll keep everyone posted on that coming up.
Nice.
And, yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot for listening. And we will see you all soon. Well, not literally see.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember, whether you're dealing with termites, ants, or the challenges of entrepreneurship, Swarm Pest Control Marketing has your back. And if you're hungry for more pest control marketing goodness, head over to swarmpestcontrolmarketing.com for additional resources, guides, and insights tailored to your business's growth.